Hey, I asked the questions here, not you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. Here's your host, Scott Cowan.
Welcome to this episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast. I'm already sitting here chatting with Jeremy, but Jeremy Shanok is waving at you. You can't see him because it's an audio only format, but trust me, folks, he's friendly. He's waving. He's got his guitar, and we're going to talk music. Cool. The Wintershakers, the Jazz Lizards, Jeremy and his guitar.
Nice.
Let's go, Jeremy. Tell us about you.
I'd like to tell you something about this guitar. I wish people could see this guitar. This is a custom Elvis Presley guitar. And okay. I do love Elvis, but not that much that I would have bought this guitar. I have a great friend, Kurt, who used to work at the Gibson factory. And he kept telling me, you got to come over and check out this guitar I have. You got to come over and check out this guitar. And I went over his house and he pulled out this guitar and I was like, what is that? You know, it's like, to describe it to people at home, it says Elvis Presley in the frets with like a pearl inlay, I guess you call it.
Mother of pearl, yeah.
Yeah. And I asked him if I could borrow it to record a song. And he was just like, you keep it. You know, he was just, he's really a drummer. And he's like, you know, I always wanted to learn how to play guitar, but I got it in an auction for... He said, you don't want to know how much. Some kind of discount because he worked at the factory. And he gave me this guitar. So shout out Kurt for giving me this Elvis Presley Gibson J200, I think you call it.
Yeah, no, it's a nice looking guitar. What's it sound like?
Yeah, I think it's a SJ200. I just had to look at it.
Okay. Right.
SJ200. It's like, this is the guitar that Bob Dylan's holding on the cover of, I think, Nashville Skyline or something. There's a famous cover with him holding this. It sounds like this. Yeah. Anyway, can you hear that okay?
I can hear it okay. I mean,
how about I play a song? This is a song I wrote about 4 days ago. So I'm always just what the latest song was that I wrote.
Perfect. Let's hear it.
I stayed up all night a couple of days ago and I wrote this one. Yeah. She don't care a thing about him. He can't pull the weight of a pin. He's not worth the trouble he brings. He won't change the words he sings. And she don't care a thing about me. She's all alone 'cause she needs to be free. We all lost the word of TV. Hold me, hold me. Hold me, hold me. Hold me here. Here we are by the fireside. I know it all from the look in her eyes. Give me something I can understand. Something I can hold in my hand. Hold me, hold me. Hold me, hold me. Hold me here. And he can't stand a single word. He can't believe he ever could. Is there any heart that won't turn to wood? Hold me, hold me. Everything is so absurd. Nothing turned out as we planned. Lying in bed on Instagram. Hold me, hold me. Hold me, hold me. Hold me, hear me, hold me. Hold me, hold me. Hold me here. Hold me here.
All right, very nice. So you just wrote that 4 days ago.
Yes, that is the debut of that song. I guess it's called "Hold Me." Maybe "Hold Me Here." I don't know, but
Okay.
that's the world debut of that. Thanks for letting me play it on the podcast.
Thanks for playing it, man.
Yep.
So let's talk. Well, first off, what do you know? What year that guitar is?
Oh, it's from the 90s. It's a 90s guitar.
The 90s.
You could find out exactly what year it is because they made a I don't know off the top of my head, about 95 or something. They made an Elvis movie. They made some movie about Elvis, and it was a custom guitar that they made for that movie. So they made something like 100 or 200. It's a limited edition. One of them, the guy plays in the movie. I don't think I've ever seen it, actually.
Okay. I haven't.
But that's the story.
Very cool.
Yeah. So it's a 90s Gibson, trying to be like the older ones,
Sure.
But yeah, it's got this really cool. At some point, Elvis had a guitar like this with this whole crazy design on it.
Right. No, I'm sure it's a beautiful guitar, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love it. I've never had a nice guitar in my life, so I'm really happy to finally have a guitar that doesn't sound like a piece.
Well, how did you get started? What was your how did you come about? How did music find you?
Well, I took piano lessons when I was about 6 or 7, and it was a very short-lived career of piano lessons. I had, I had like the method book, and I never practiced. And my first piano recital, it was at an old folks home, and I hadn't practiced my piece. It probably had 10 notes in it. It was probably like the easiest thing, but I didn't practice it. And I sat down in front of the kid in front of me was really good. Kid who played before me. And I was super intimidated. And I sat down at the piano and I couldn't even remember the first note. And I looked out at all these people in wheelchairs and walkers and stuff. And I looked out at them and I said, "Can I stop?" And they were just blank faced. Nobody said a word. And I just got up and I ran away. And then a clown came up. There was a clown who was an announcer to announce each student, was this clown. And it really scared the heck out of me. I was sitting on the floor crying, and this clown comes up to me and he's like, "You can go back and play if you want to." And I was like, no, leave me alone. And that ended my piano career. And then about 5 years later, I started taking guitar lessons. When I was about 11 years old, I was taking guitar lessons, and I had some friends who wanted to start a punk band, and I wanted to play guitar in it. But my other friend, Russ, was the guitar player. So they said, "No, we need you to play drums." So this was very punk rock. We turned the guitar I had into a bass by putting bass strings on it. I don't remember if it ever even worked, but we destroyed this guitar trying to turn it into a bass. And I bought a drum set, and my friend taught me how to play what he thought was the beat to Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones. And it was nothing like the beat in the end. I remember it was like I was playing something on the floor tom, and there was this. This is in New Jersey, and I don't remember the station. Maybe you'll know. I think maybe it was WKCR. It was like Rutgers radio, whatever the Rutgers station was. We used to listen to it all the time, and one day they were giving away tickets to a show. Brutal Truth and Pungent Stench were the names of these bands. I'd never heard of these bands before, but we won tickets to go see Brutal Truth and Pungent Stench at Obsessions in Randolph, New Jersey. And we were like 14 years old or something. I don't even know if it must have been all ages because we were like in 8th grade or something. Not. Oh, sorry. I got.
Oh, you're good.
Did you hear that beep?
Okay, no,
good,
I did not.
Good. Okay.
Oh, actually, we all did.
I should have silenced my phone first. Sorry. I won't let it distract me if it happens again. Anyway, we went to this club and there were these like heavy metal bands playing and Brutal Truth and Pungent Stench. I wonder whatever happened to them. One of the bands had prosthetics coming out of their pants. We'll just say like a prosthetic third limb. And we were like really freaked out by this whole experience. We were really freaked out. But somehow we talked to the owner of the bar somehow that night, and we booked a gig there. My band was called the Disturbed Degenerates. So that was probably my first like real show I ever went to, and then somehow we got there. So we went and we played a show at Obsessions in Randolph, New Jersey, and I played punk rock drums for like 5 of our friends that we got to come out, and that was the beginning of it all. Yeah.
So what brought you out to Washington?
Oh, it was a long road to Washington, but the short version is I went to Boston for a couple of years, went to school there, the Berklee College of Music there, and then I graduated. I moved to San Francisco, and I was in a band called Buckster Hootin' in San Francisco for about 7 years, and we did a bunch of tours where we went up to Seattle. I'm trying to think of the name of the place. It's still there, but it's changed. In Capitol Hill, right across from the Mexican restaurant. Anyway, we played a show there, and it was a really cool show. And I remember walking around Capitol Hill and just thinking, like, I could move here. I really dig the scene here. The sound was awesome at the club. I can't think of the name of it right now. It's a famous club.
It'll come. It'll pop in halfway through the show.
But I thought if I ever was going to move to somewhere, Seattle seems like a cool place. So a couple years later, I just moved to Seattle, and I love it. Ended up in Wallingford, and there's a club called Sea Monster Lounge in Wallingford. And for a couple of years, that was kind of my main hang. There's still a band that plays there every Friday night, Funky to Death. But it's a really cool club, and that kind of became my scene, playing jazz gigs there. I met a great guy, Eric Hollander, upright bass player. He puts together a lot of shows now for Loudswell. He does a lot of live streams. Okay. But he was a bass player who kind of saw me playing at a jam or something, and he started calling me for gigs. We used to do a jazz brunch with Joe Doria on organ, or he would play piano actually. We would do that on like Sundays at Sea Monster Lounge and play with all different arrangements of the jazz musicians in Seattle. And like the first week came to Seattle, I went to the Owl and Thistle. They have a jam session every Tuesday night, led by Eric Verlinde. And at the time it was Jose Martinez on drums, but I think he stopped doing it pretty much by now. But Eric Verlinde still does it every Tuesday. And I said, if I come here every week and play, I might learn something about jazz. So I made it like my religion to go to the Owl and Thistle every Tuesday. And out of that, I met all the people that would become the Jazz Lizards. That's the story there.
How did we come up with the name, the Jazz Lizards? That's
a good question. I'm really not sure. It goes back to when I used to live in San Francisco. I had a steady gig at a hotel with a friend, Justin Pertel, on guitar, and Will Razad on bass. And it was called the Stanford Court Hotel, I think. Real ritzy place. Paid good, and they would give us free food and free drinks. It was a cool gig. And somehow I said, let's call this band the Jazz Lizards. So even though those lizards are none of the same lizards that ended up in Seattle, except for me, I kept the name.
You kept the name. All right. You slithered away.
We used to call
the
bass player the Snake. He would like that. I hope he hears this sometime, because he would snake around on the bass. So maybe him being the snake has something to do with the lizardry. But I just, met so many great jazz musicians in Seattle, and I kind of picked like the best of them and said, will you guys record this album with me? And I'm lucky that all those guys played with me. So I had been writing jazz tunes for about 5 years. So I had like a collection, and I wanted to make an album. So I think there's like 20 tracks on that album, but that's how that came about.
Well, there's I'm on the Jazz Lizards website right now. So there's this photograph of you and all the guys.
I'm sorry.
Where
that's
was
taken
that photo
at
taken?
Litho Studios, or I guess you call it Studio Litho in Fremont. So I think it's great studio. Floyd is in the picture there. He's one of the guys, the engineers in that picture, standing there, and he's just a genius engineer. I don't even know all the bands that he's recorded, but I think that Mike McCready owns the studio. It might be his studio altogether, or he has it split with someone else. But I know that, like, you know, Pearl Jam records there, and Dave Matthews Band has recorded there, so it's a very quintessential Seattle spot. I think the Head and the Heart recorded their first album there. So
so nobody of note.
He knows Floyd knows what he's doing anyway. So when it came to recording that album, I knew I'd be in good hands with Floyd. Yeah.
I always love to ask, how long did it take to record that album?
That was 2 days. Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad. That's quick.
It's, if you listen to it, it might sound like these guys have never played this music and never practiced it, and that's exactly the truth. I really wanted to go into into that session without any preconception of how it was going to be, and some of the people in the band wanted to practice. You know, they were like, "Come on, you're recording an album. We should get together and practice and stuff." But I was like, "No." Just kind of like, I guess my point of reference was, you know, not that my music is anything like Miles Davis or I'm on that level at all, but, you know, the kind of blues sessions where it was just a couple sketches and they went in and you got kind of blue. So that was kind of my goal for this, is like real jazz, because we're actually improvising everything. And then, you know, we'd run through it 1 or 2 times and come up with some kind of an arrangement. So I don't think there are many first takes. It's usually, I think most of them are probably second takes, or like maybe 1 or 2 or third takes, because we had to figure something out. But there's nothing more than 3 takes. That's just like, that's it.
What's interesting to me, and I'm not a musician, you know, I just I love listening to music, and nor do I claim to know that much about music either. I just love what I like to listen to, right? But there's this like 2 schools of thoughts. Let's just go in and improvise everything, or I can't release it because it's not meticulously perfect every split second of the album. I kind of tend to gravitate towards the more, let's throw spaghetti at the wall and see how it sounds. And some of it's great, and some of it's, well, maybe it wasn't, but you know, I like that, you know, unstructured nature. I definitely
live in between those 2 schools of thought. And I feel like my heart is on the improvise and whatever happens side, and my head is in the everything should be perfect side. So that's like, it leads to some kind of complete bipolar disorder in my mind when it comes to recording music. Like that album, we recorded it in 2 days, and then I was just like, cool, that's done. But then I've got my rock and roll project, the Wintershakers, and we recorded the basic tracks right before COVID kind of happens. So over 2 years ago, we went in the studio and recorded the basic tracks to that. And like, I don't want to release anything because I want to work on it till it's perfect. And I haven't really had a chance, especially financially, to make that happen, you know? So there's a part of me that's just like, oh, it's fine just the way it is. And then there's a part of me that really wants to polish it. And like, the last thing I did is I hired a string quartet, some Seattle great string players. And I've been like overdubbing strings to it. And now that the strings are on it, I'm thinking, oh, I can get some flutes here and some clarinets here. And like, I really want to get out the next album this year, but there's that part of me that wants it to be right. So I don't want to release it till it's right. So sometimes you write a song 4 days ago and then play it on a podcast and just say, it's done. Here it is. Other things done. Take 7 years, you know?
Well, let's sure. You know, we'll just bounce around here. We'll just be unstructured. So the Wintershakers, how did you get started with that project?
I had been I played multiple instruments, and over the years I was a sideman for So
Okay.
for a lot of different bands, I would play other people's songs. And at the same time, I would be writing songs. And sometimes I would write songs for the projects that I'd be in. And some of the bands played my songs over the years. At different shows, we would play some of my stuff. But when my last project ended, about 3.5, 4 years ago, when my last thing I was doing ended, I found myself without a band and with all these songs. And I'd always been relying on other people to sing my songs and play them. And at that point, I just said, you know what? It's like, if I don't do this myself, no one else is going to do this for me. Like, I could find another band to join it with somebody who has their music, but inevitably their music is going to be the focus of their band. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I wrote this song. Maybe we can sing. And maybe I'd get 1 or 2 songs on a set or something. But it just came to be that shift that I had, over 30 songs of my own, and nobody else is going to sing them if I don't sing them. So I started singing them. I went to Columbia City Theater, has a open mic night at the Bourbon Bar. It's like the smaller area right when you walk in on the left. And I had some friends who would, my friend Michelle Searle, she teaches at the Music Factory in Madison Park, owned by Ari Joshua, great friend of mine. He's a Wintershaker too. He was just on the cover of Earshot last month. You might have noticed, but I'm going on a tangent here. I love Ari. He's going to record with Majesty, Martin, and Wood -1. Majesty and Martin next month. He's going to record with them.
Okay,
so that's pretty cool. And he just recorded an album with like Fish's band. Some of the people from Trey's band. Sorry, not Fish. Yeah. His rhythm section. He recorded an album with. Anyway, Michelle Searle, who is a vocal teacher at the Music Factory, where I also worked for years teaching students there. So she's like, come to Columbia City Theater. I host an open mic there. And I kind of made that my main thing. So I would go every week. I ended up hosting it a bunch of times when she couldn't make it, hosting the open mic. And that just became like my reason every week to write songs and work on songs, to go there and play them on Wednesday night. And I ended up meeting my band there. Noah Bird is a great singer-songwriter. And I saw him singing there, and he saw me, and we hooked up. So I ended up playing drums in his band, and he plays bass for me. And then there was another band called Speakeasy that was from Michigan. And their drummer, Jordan Otto, I met through this whole thing too. And that's how I put together the Wintershakers. I'm trying to
How would you describe the Wintershakers in your own? Because I'm reading some stuff here. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. How are you going to describe
I haven't thought about this forever. I mean, this is why I paid somebody to write my bio for me, so I could have somebody else say it.
Well, when we're done here, you could steal some of your lines and put them on your sites.
What, come on. The guy who wrote my bio said, he said something like, we're a colorful stash of crayons that you listen to sipping warm cups of coffee on rainy Seattle nights or something. I don't know. I like what he wrote, but I'll try and think of some words myself. I'm definitely, a lot of times when you apply to a festival or something, they want you to say like 3 words. And I always throw a folk in there.
Okay.
Whatever I say, like, I always end up throwing a folk in there. I love Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen, and so many things are influenced by folk. So, there's the folk element in my songwriting for sure. And there's a rock element, definitely. Okay. I love rock and roll. So I always end up saying something like, freak folk rock. Yeah.
Well, I mean, all right. So I'm going to read you the bio. Just to remind you, Seattle-based band The Wintershakers is like a stash of priceless artworks composed by colorful crayon box.
I like that.
That's pretty interesting, man. And it goes on to say, the group is a smile of the Mona Lisa overcome with birthday ice cream and icing. The members write the best songs you haven't heard. Rich with the lilt and pounce you've known your whole life. Your music is a mighty mix of majesty and mayhem. No, so somebody wrote that for you. So that wasn't your words.
a good friend of mine. I don't know if I'm supposed to say his name because I paid him to say it, or to write them out. But anyway, it's a great journalist from the Seattle area who wrote that, who's going on to do many great things.
Nice.
But I think it's eclectic. That's one of the words that comes to mind is eccentric or eclectic. My music's very diverse. Whenever I give somebody my CD, I usually tell them, if you don't like a track, just skip to the next one, because you might like it, because they're all very different. And my biggest fear is that someone hears the first track and is like, oh, this isn't my thing. And maybe their thing is track 3. It's like on Almost There, the first track is like pretty rockin' with drums, and it's loud, and there's like fully orchestrated. And then the second track is super soft and almost like a love song or something, but really, really soft and sweet. And then the third track is like a disco song. So within the first 3 tracks, you have you would think it was 3 different bands or something. And that's the same thing with the Jazz Lizards too. It's like stylistically, there's not really one thing. I like all kinds of music, and I feel like when I write, I draw from a lot of different styles and tonalities and yeah.
So name some influences for
the first track on the album, Almost There, I literally wrote the day after seeing not Sharon Van Etten. Oh, I'm losing my mind. She has that song, Are You With Me Now? Kate LeBon. I saw Kate LeBon I think it was at the Crocodile. Okay. But I saw Kate LeBon there, it was at Numos. Right. I saw her at the Crocodile a couple of years later. But anyway, I saw her at Numos, and she has a song called Are You With Me Now? And it's got like a really eclectic groove that like changes time signatures and a cool melody that goes on top of that. And the next day, I don't know, I don't remember if I said I want to write something like Kate LeBon, or I just had her song in my head or something, but I wrote that one as kind of like a tribute to her, consciously or not consciously. So Kate LeBon is an influence on that one. I think on the next track, harmonically, like Crosby, Stills, and Nash. There's something I'm playing these without, maybe with or without.
Young or without Young?
Is Neil Young on the Judy Blue Eyes?
Hey, I asked the questions here, not you.
Yeah. So,
boy.
Yeah, sure. So, like on the first,
you keep
track,
talking. I'm going to look that up.
Goes. We're almost there. And Kate LeBon has a song like, Are You With Me Now? I don't even know how to play her song, but it's similar in like changing time signature with a melody on top.
Okay.
And then the second track, Crested Butte. I feel like those chords somehow, I don't know if that has anything to do with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, but to me it does. Like that's how they play, like, you know, that kind of vibe. So I would call them an influence.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see
like I said, the third track is like a disco track, or like so like, you know, for a couple of years I played in a wedding band, playing drums in a wedding band. So like somehow some top 40 disco beats got into my head as an influence there. Yeah.
You need to get those out. Just get them out. No.
Yeah.
So Sweet Judy Blue Eyes was just Crosby, Stills, and Nash. That was off their first album.
You can still listen to it on Spotify.
Pre-young. No Young yet.
Yeah. If you play it backwards, it says get vaccinated.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Lots of influences. I think, you know, there are more things that are influences for me than aren't influences, definitely. But yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you're let's go over to this for a second. So where Where in the area, since we're a Washington State show, so I'm just going to ask you, to kind of keep it to Washington. Venues that you've played at that you think are pretty
I know
cool
I've talked about the Columbia City Theater already, but I love Columbia City Theater. It's such a beautiful place. The stage and the curtains, and there's like some gold inlays or something in the main room. I really love that place. I've got that was one of the places I played before I moved to Washington when I was I take that back. Like the week I moved to Seattle, my friend from San Francisco, Quinn DeVoe, came through on tour, and he needed a drummer. And I played I think my first gig officially when I moved to Seattle was at the Columbia City Theater playing drums for Quinn DeVoe. So something drew me to that place. And
okay, all right,
yeah, I don't know.
Venue, man. It's a cool spot.
The whole time, I feel like they're always on the verge of being shut down, it's always save the Columbia City Theater. It's one of these things. It's like Scarecrow Video or something. They're always right on the verge of closing down forever, and somehow they stay alive. So I'm hoping that I get to play there again. But right at the beginning of this pandemic, I played a show there. It was I don't remember now. I guess it was January 19, or it might have been January 20. I don't know. But yeah, I love that place. So that's a great venue to play. There are some places that are great that I haven't played too, but I'm thinking of places I have played. Sunset Tavern.
Well, we'll get to that.
Sunset Tavern. They just redid their whole.
Okay.
I feel like Sunset Tavern is always redoing their restaurant too. They're always in flux. When I used to play with Buxter Hooten and we came on tour, it was one of the first places we played in Seattle. This is about 12 years ago now. We drove up and it was, I don't know if you remember, but it was the biggest snowstorm ever. Everything was shut down. This is about 12 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. I don't remember exactly. Yeah.
It happens. To me it was a couple
Seattle,
months ago because we had so much snow here.
The whole thing shuts down. So of course we drove from San Francisco. I mean, we did other stops on the way, obviously, like Eugene and Portland and Dante's in Portland. Sure. And there's this really cool club in Cottage Grove, Oregon. I forget what it's called, but it's a bookstore that has a stage. And we would always hit that place in Cottage Grove. And we get to Seattle, and I think I had two friends that came out from high school that happened to live in Seattle. And that was it. There were two of my friends there, and nobody else came out because Seattle was just closed because of the snow. But at that point, the Sunset Tavern sold pizza. They sold pizza, and their stage was in a totally different spot. And then they they built a wall, knocked down a wall, and they redid the whole place. And they just recently redid the whole stage. So now it looks like there's a sunrise, and it's got kind of a Japanese architecture type thing going on. I'd really like to play there again, since I haven't played there since they revamped it. But I love Sunset Tavern. They always have great sound. Columbia City Theater always has great sound. I still haven't played Numos, but love Numos. Awesome club. And the place next door to it, downstairs, whatever that is.
Okay.
Or maybe Numos is the one downstairs and there's the other place next door. Yeah. You know what I'm saying, though.
I always get that mixed up. It's been so long since I've been to live music in Seattle. It's not because, we moved over, to Central Washington, 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now. And then, so we come over. I mean, we were over Saturday. We went to Tacoma to see a couple of, some friends of ours had a double bill at a place called the Valley, and just a great little dive bar.
There's that place down there in Tacoma.
We drove over for that.
There's a really cool place. I know you know what I'm talking about. It's a really big club. Spanish ballroom. Thank you. I knew you get it. Yeah. I saw something pretty recently there.
McMiniman's. Yeah. There's a lot of people play there. That's a pretty cool room. Tacoma's music scene's kind of been interesting. There's a lot of talent down in Tacoma. Very different to me. The sound of Tacoma is very different.
While we're talking about clubs I like, I have to give a shout out to Connor Byrne in Ballard. I've probably played there more than anywhere. When I was getting into the open mic scene, Wednesdays was Columbia City Theater, and then Sunday night was and still is the Connor Byrne open mic night.
Okay. I've never been there, so for my sake,
in,
describe that place because I've never been there.
Kind of like, have you ever been to the high dive? Okay, so it's like a high dive, but it's a little bit bigger, and the stage is a little more elegant. You could say they have a cool chandelier.
Oh,
it's like high dive 2.0. No offense to the high dive.
Of course. Okay.
But I love Connor Byrne, and
high dive's kind of
that just became my scene for a long time. And the Head and the Heart got their start at Connor Byrne, and I had my album release party booked for Almost There for the Wintershakers. It was booked about 2 years ago, or it might be 3 years ago now. I'm not sure. I'm losing track of time with COVID. It's just it's all becoming a blur. But we were booked for like one night. It was like August 4th or something.
Yeah.
And they called me up and said, "Hey, would you mind moving your show?
Okay.
We double booked your show." They had some corporate event that they booked the night that I was supposed to have the CD release party. And I was so mad. I'm like, come on, I've been advertising for this. I put up posters. And they're like, well, we can give you, I know you wanted Friday, but we could give you Saturday night. But the only thing would be that you'd have to open up for the Head and the Heart. So I said, okay, well, all right, we'll switch.
Okay, twist my arm.
So yeah.
So do you know who John Doe is?
I don't know John Doe.
John Doe, probably most recognize him. He is the bass player for the band X.
Okay.
You know X?
No, I don't.
You're too young. X was a quintessential punk band out of Los Angeles.
I'm typing it in right now so I can search it later. Yeah.
So John Doe is the bass player in that band.
I've got his picture now. He looks familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. He's done a lot of stuff. Anyway, he played a show one night at the High Dive that we went to.
Cool.
It was just him and his acoustic guitar. And he walks out on stage, and there's maybe, I don't know, 150 of us, 200. I mean, it was, and he goes, "I'm really sick. Just go get your money back. Nobody pays for tonight. Come back in and I'll play for as long as I can, but you're not going to get a good show out of me. So you don't need to pay." Not a single person left. 2.5 hours later, he finished up. I mean, that guy that was a really cool show. Everyone kept bringing him whiskeys up to the stage. Here you go. Nice. He was just, but yeah, the High Dive is a pretty cool. A good friend of mine had a band in Seattle in the 90s, and they got back together for one show. They did it there. Yeah, I like that venue. I've not been to Connor Byrne. I'm looking at it right now, and it's a gorgeous bar, man.
I love the High Dive too. The first Wintershakers show ever was at the High Dive.
Here's what's behind.
Okay. Echo, stop. Man, they're listening. I don't know what I said. I don't know what I said to make that happen. I'm unplugging.
Big Brother is listening,
now.
Folks.
Sorry for all the technical difficulties here.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
This
is a very casual show, folks. You know that. People are listening are like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the first Wintershakers show ever was at High Dive, August 4th, 4 years ago. Whatever year that was. That was our first show.
Yeah, like 1905 or something. I don't know, man. COVID is messed up everything.
Exactly. Yeah, the last show we played was at Connor Byrne about 5 months ago, and it was one of those things like they were going back and forth if it was going to be open or closed, if the show was going to get canceled or not. They were canceling every other show, and we ended up doing the show, and it was a weird scene. Everybody's wearing masks, and then I'm on stage singing and I'm not wearing a mask, and then half the band is wearing masks and half the band isn't wearing masks. And at that point, after that show, which just kind of felt off to me, I was just like, I'm not, either you can go to a bar and play a show or you can't, so I'm kind of waiting for the whole thing to die down. Hopefully it will. We'll see what happens. Right. But things seem to be pretty open these days. Things seem to be pretty open, but it's still always just like a mixed crowd. Like some people are wearing masks, some people aren't.
Right. And I think for the foreseeable future, that's going to be the case. There's going to be people, even if masks are not required, that are going to choose to mask up. And then there's going to be people that, even if masks are required, refuse to wear masks. I'm not trying to have a statement here. I'm just like, people are people. And I'm with you. I was going to go buy tickets to see a concert in Seattle in March. And I was like, nope, I just don't feel like doing it. I just don't. don't want to sit around for 2.5 hours in a large theater with 16,000 people wearing a mask. I don't think I'd enjoy myself enough. And then McCartney tickets are going on sale. So now I have to decide if I can get McCartney tickets, I'll wear a mask.
I hear you.
And
I heard Coachella's happening with no masks, but they say if you want to wear a mask, obviously.
Sure. I mean, that's just going to be.
This could, maybe you're right, and this is just the new normal, and everybody needs to get over it, and that's the way it's going to be. Like, people are going to wear masks because they don't want, they're playing it safe, and I guess that's fine.
Exactly. And there's
go to a show and wear a mask. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. But I
maybe
think I do find it weird though, and this is just me. You see a band performing with some of them wearing masks and some of them not. And it's like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. It's okay. It's like you have to pick a side.
Yeah. Well, but the problem is you shouldn't have to pick a side.
I was joking.
Oh, okay. Good. Pick a side. Draw a line in the sand. I shouldn't. We should, common sense. But
yeah, like I said at the Connor Burns show, some of us were wearing masks, some of us weren't. I think me and the bass player and Ari on guitar, I think none of us had masks. And then we had a string quartet on stage, and I think like 2 of them were and 2 of them weren't. It's just the way it is, It's fine.
Okay. So we've talked about some of the places you've played. Let's talk about where haven't you played that you want to play?
Well, about 2 or 3 years ago, 1905, 1906, we played at Folk Life at Vera Project, and I would really want to play KXP stage. That's definitely a goal. To play KEXP stage for Folk Life or another time, anytime.
KEXP, are you listening? He wants to play on your stage.
If you're listening,
there we go.
Or an in studio too would be cool. But I love that room. That's a goal. I've played at the Tractor before with other bands, but I've never played my own music there. So Tractor Tavern, it's right across the street from Connor Burns. But I've still never done a Wintershakers gig there.
Yeah, Tractor's. Boy, I've had a lot of great shows at the Tractor Tavern through the years. So John Doe's other band is called the Knitters.
Cool.
And it's most of the members in X, except for the drummer's playing a wash tub. And we were there on, was it either election night or inauguration night when Barack Obama was, and Eddie Vedder got up on stage and sang with him. And it was just like, and we were like next to the stage. I mean, it was like, hey, who's that? That's Eddie Vedder. Yeah, but the Tractors, that's a fun room. I don't know why. It's not really a great room for music, and I don't think it's laid out great, but it's so much fun. I've always had a good time.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. There are definitely some spots you can end up where you don't have a good view. Like you have a pole in your face or something if you're by the bar and like looking over. There's some bad spots to be, but it's a cool room, big room.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good, and I like the fact that the stage is low and,
I've been hearing a lot about this club in West Seattle called Drunky Two Shoes. A lot of people have been playing there.
That's in White Center. White Center.
Right.
Yeah. Drunky Two Shoes. I mean, with a name like that, that's like a great name. There's a place here in Wenatchee called Wally's House of Booze.
Oh, I gotta play there.
That's a pretty cool name. What's interesting is it's primarily punk rock.
Cool.
In Wenatchee, which is just weird. But it's a great dive bar.
Well, I'll have to call you when I'm booking a tour and trying to get in there.
Play at Wally's. I mean, with a name like Wall, I remember when we decided. Well, not when we decided. When we came over here to see if we'd like living here, right? So we stayed for a weekend, and we're driving around, and we're driving down. And this is on the main drag in Wenatchee. And I just remember going to my wife. I said, "We have to move to a town that has a place called Wally's House of Booze." I'm not really a drinker, but it was just like, what a cool name.
Yeah.
What a freaking cool name. Wally's House of Booze. So Drunky Two Shoes is right there.
It's right up that alley.
I've heard good things about there. Have you ever played Slim's Last Chance?
No, I haven't. I've seen something there.
Yeah. I like that. That place is okay too. I've seen a lot of our friends have played there before.
Yeah. And then there's not high dive, but there's like something that sounds like high dive. I think it's Red Round Slums. I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway,
it's all good.
Yeah, there's so many good places to play.
Right, and I'm interested to see what the new Crocodile looks like.
Yeah, I've played the back bar there, but never the main stage. That would be another goal: is playing main stage at Crocodile. That would be cool.
Okay,
never played there.
Have you ever seen a show at the original Showbox there in Pike Place Market?
Yes, I think I saw the Roots there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That'd been fun.
I might have been there another time too, but I can't think of it.
Yeah,
that's another one that's always needing to be saved.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, I think they've taken care.
They figured out some kind of like historic landmark.
The developer's gonna spare it. And I think. Well, what's next for you? What's the future look like?
Yeah. Well. Let me take a moment and point people towards the Wintershakers and the Jazz Lizards. Both have YouTube channels and Facebook channels and Instagram channels. And the reason I mention this is not to get more likes, which, that's great and all, because you can see the next time we're playing when we make announcements and stuff. But for me, one of my great passions is making videos. So basically every time I'm writing a song, the second I start writing a song, I start thinking about what's the video going to be. And
all right.
I pretty much do it all myself. I've had some help from some other camera people and stuff, but I'm almost done making videos for the last album. Almost there. I want to have a video for every song. So if you look up the Wintershakers on any of those things, you'll be able to see, I guess, like 8 or 9 so far music videos that we have. And a lot of them I have stop time animation that I do myself mixed with live concert footage and stuff. And the same thing for the Jazz Lizards. I've been making videos. I'm not quite as close to finishing that album because there's like 20 tracks. And I think I've done about 10 of those so far. So these are long-term goals. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but the thing is, I kind of didn't want to do the next album till I make all the videos for the first album. So I've been working on it for a couple of years, but at the same time, I've been working on these videos for the last album. And there's this part of me that's like, don't release the next one till you have all the videos done for the first one. Some kind of self-imposed weird.
Oh, I think, but see, earlier when we started this and we were saying improv versus perfection, right? But there's also improv can be complete. And I like the idea that you want to, since video is important to you, that you want to complete that part of this project. So I like that idea. I think that's a smart move. Not that I know what I'm talking about. I'm just giving you my opinion.
I hear you. Every song doesn't have to have a video. Like, it's just something I made up in my head that I want to have videos for all my songs. Maybe it doesn't matter. I can think of so many great songs that don't have videos or I've never seen the videos to, but I still love the songs. But I just feel like it's kind of a visual world these days, YouTube and Instagram and everything. So I really want to have something you can look at to go along with it. A lot of people just do like a lyric video or something just to have something up there. Maybe I should start lowering my standards a little.
No, I don't. You see, as an artist, don't lower your standards. I think artists need to keep their standards. I mean, there's that fine line between never releasing, but you need to keep your standards. Cool.
Well, now to come full circle back to your question, the next thing is for the Wintershakers is the album. It's going to be called Golden Haze. And I released the single Golden Haze about 2 years ago, right when I recorded. I recorded 22 tracks, and then we mixed and mastered and made a video for Golden Haze for the one video. And I'm not going to say I regret it releasing it as a single, but I thought that this album would be done sooner. I thought it'd be like, here's the single, and now a couple of months later, here's the whole album. But now it's like the single was released 2 years ago, and there's still no album. So next thing on the agenda is to finish the whole album, which has 22 tracks on it. And I know it's a lot, but I really want to just get it all out there. So So that's the next thing. it was recorded. The basic tracks we did at Studio Litho with Floyd, and I've recorded strings at another studio called Quiet Please Studios in Fremont with my friend John Metzler. He did an awesome job recording strings there. And then we did more strings at another studio called Hazy Bay Studios. We did another string day. I was trying to get them all in one day, but it's hard to record 20 songs, a string quartet in one day. So it ended up being a couple of days.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of getting into it and fine tuning it. Some background vocals. I need to have Noah and Jordan re-sing. I changed the keys of some songs that said like it was almost done, and then I rethought some things and reworked a couple things. So now it's like back in the process of sorting out, getting it back to. I should have just released it the day we recorded it and just said it's done. But I'm on the other side of the spectrum on this one, trying to make it really great. And 2022. That's my goal. Is sometime in 2022. Keep an eye out for the Wintershakers Golden Haze.
So how did we come up with the name Wintershakers?
There's a church called the Shakers. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're from the East Coast, probably Maryland or something. I'm not sure exactly, but they're kind of like the Quakers or the Mennonites. They're called the Shakers, and there aren't many of them left anymore. There's maybe just a couple left, if there are any. But Ken Burns made a documentary about 15 or 20 years ago. I don't know how long it was out when I saw it, about 10 years ago. But there was a documentary, like a PBS style, Ken Burns documentary on the Shakers. And they were famous for dancing. That's why they called the Shakers the Shakers. Like the more conservative religious people I don't know why I said it like that. The more religious people would look down on the Shakers because they danced, and that was like sacrilegious to dance in church at the time. People didn't dance in church. That's like the devil's, to dance. So they were called the Shakers because they had dance moves they would do, and they have a song called Simple Gifts that you probably know. It goes, oh man, no, I can't think of it. But they had choreographed dance moves that went with it. If you heard the melody, you'd recognize it. Anyway, in this Ken Burns documentary, he talked about how when the winter would come, all these vagabond people who didn't have their stuff together, they would be like starving because the winter would come and they wouldn't have any food and they had no shelter. So these people would come and join the church just for the winter, and they would eat all the food. And, there was one side of the church was for the guys to sleep, and the other side of the church was for the girls to sleep. And in this documentary, he talks about how the men who would come and join for the winter would be seen going into the women's side of the church. Gotcha. And it went something like this, that they would call them the Wintershakers. Like, oh, Hezekiah, don't worry about him. He'll be gone when the weather gets nice. He's just a winter shaker. So the Shakers would call the guys who would come and just to use them for the winter, they would call them the Wintershakers. And I always thought that was a cool band name. If I ever started a band, I would call it the Wintershakers.
That's a cool story.
Yeah. So I highly recommend the Ken Burns documentary. Cool, I don't know where you can see it. I don't think it's on Netflix or anything, but I'm sure you could dig it up somewhere.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure you can.
It's probably called the Shakers, Ken Burns. So that's where the name comes from, and that's why I said, what's the name of that bar in Wenatchee? The Wally's House of Booze. Yeah, I could picture the Wintershakers going over, drinking at Wally's House of Booze.
There, Are you? Well, speaking of drinking, are you a fan of coffee?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I knew we'd get along just fine. Great place to grab coffee in your neck of the woods in Seattle, where you haunt, the areas of Seattle you haunt. Tell me a good coffee shop to go to.
I hope it's still there. When I was living in Central District, you'd have to check to see if it's still there, but on Union, Cortona. I really love Cortona. Yeah.
Cortona.
Cortona Coffee.
I don't know if that is still there.
And then there's Ritual.
We're looking.
There's that place Victrola, right?
Victrola's,
in Seattle, there's just, anywhere you... Great.
And Cortona's still there.
Yeah,
Cortona's still there.
My friend Ice owns that place. Shout out Ice. They have a great deal there that all day long you can come back for a refill for 50 cents. So I would, yeah.
Well, that's my type of coffee shop.
I think I'm trying to think of what brand they use. I think they brew Ritual. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
This is saying, well, wait a second. Let me make sure. Yeah, no, Herbiker.
Oh, okay.
Herbiker coffee now.
That's probably what they're using. It's really good though.
Well, that's not a brand you find very easily around town. So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
There's lots of good places in Seattle. Anywhere, any coffee house you say it's gonna have good coffee.
Yeah, pretty much. You can do that. So, hey, can I impose on you to play another song? You
got any requests?
Yeah. I don't. I'm going to let you surprise us.
I'm going to surprise me too, because I don't know what I'm missing.
Yeah, I put you on the spot. All right, he's got the Elvis Presley guitar out again, folks.
This one, I'm going to play.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is going to be the title track off the next album, Golden Haze. Let me adjust this wire so hopefully it won't get in the way. Okay.
All right.
I could lay in bed. I might as well be dead. I'd lose a couple of years if you stay here. Just sleeping like a bear. I'm not anywhere. I know it's not fair, but I don't care. You just cut a little too deep into my sleep. And I lay in a golden haze, forget about the plans I never should have made. I could drift away upon the waves and never care if I'm ever saved. 'Cause when I close my eyes, I'm hypnotized. When I see those lights, I'll be alright. But you cut a little too deep into my sleep. And I lay in a golden haze, forget about the plans I never should have made. Usually there's a guitar solo here, but I'll take this moment to talk about the video for this one. I had the concept that we all dress up like Alice in Wonderland. So I bought a bunch of Alice in Wonderland costumes. And of course, I'm Alice. And we threw together a Halloween show at Substation. And so if you see the video for this one, it's a lot of the band running around dressed up as Alice in Wonderland. And we have a lot of live footage from the Halloween show we played at Substation. Okay. So this is the single, and hopefully the rest of the tracks will be done pretty soon. But I'll sing the rest of the song now.
All right.
But you cut too deep. It all got ruined. And now I'm sick staring at the moon. And love can be so tough. It's never quite enough. And it can be so rough coming off the stuff. But little too deep into my sleep, and I lay in a golden haze, forget about the plans I never should have made. You just cut a little too deep into my sleep, and I drift away. I guess I'll write this song another day. You just cut a little too deep into my sleep, and I lay in a golden haze, forget about the plans I never should have made. I just lay in a golden haze, forget about the plans I never should have made. I lay in a golden haze, forget about the plans I never should have made. Thank you.
All right. Very nice. I like that guitar solo.
Usually
more like good conversation.
Not messing up. Anyway. Yeah. So that one's released,
All right.
Golden Haze. You can hear all these on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
All that stuff.
All those
things.
All those outlets. What haven't we talked about that we should have talked about as we wrap this one up? What didn't we cover
About my musical journey?
Your musical journey?
Yeah, I don't know. We've covered a lot of things. There's I love music. I don't know what else I would do with my life, you know? So
okay. Yeah. What we're gonna do in the show notes,
cool. I appreciate that.
Put the links to your websites in that way people can, because who knows where they're listening to this. They might be in their car or something and they're like, I can't remember. So we'll make it easy for people to circle back to you. And then we look forward to seeing you when you start playing again, and hopefully that
sounds great.
Hopefully
sometime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you taking the time to play a couple songs for us.
Anytime.
That's, it's funny is that, we talk to musicians and I don't normally think about it. If I'm being honest, I don't think about it. Like we should always try to get you guys to play something. I mean, it's just
I'm
cool.
down. I can sing songs all night. I'm ready. We can keep
There
rolling,
we go.
man. We can. I guess we're out of time. We're out of time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So thanks so much.
It's been a real blast. Let me know when we can do it again. I appreciate it.
Join us next time for another episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast.